Hey guys, it's Dan Strong with ExcelVbaIsFun. Today we have an exciting lesson. We're going to learn how to use a monthly date picker, but not only in a user form, we're also going to allow you to use it in a worksheet. So that means when your user clicks on a specific cell, it will actually pop up. And we're going to show you how to do some really cool tricks because this is actually just a user form that is using a date control. However, it's going to be really easy to use out of the box. First thing we're going to do is we're going to make the sheet look good. We're going to set up a couple date fields. We're going to set up the user form very quickly. It's very simple code. And if you want to follow along afterwards, we're going to also kind of doll it up with some special API stuff, wherein we're going to take out the title bar of the user form and we're going to make sure that we scrunch it up so that it looks really, really nice. It looks like it's just a standalone calendar control. As soon as they click on a date, it'll just update whatever's in the cell. So we're going to show you how to set up your own cells that way with its own date picker that will just disappear if you click away or click on a date. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our worksheet. I'm going to zoom in with Control Scroll Wheel a little bit here, and we're going to go ahead and set up something like name, a name field, and we'll have the project start and project end. Alright, let's go ahead and auto size these, and then we want to have a nice big area for our date fields here. So I'm going to click here, control click, and I'm going to click on the borders and hit A for all borders. A for all borders. Now, since I'm going to give this kind of a kind of a dark look here, I'm going to go ahead and choose a background. So we're going to go ahead and use a custom background. So I'm going to go to page layout from a file, and I'm just going to choose a dark color, a nice little background. You can use your own. I think this one will look good. Now the only problem with having a dark background is now I need to go ahead and update the color of these. So we're going to make all these kind of, let's see. I need to use the font color, maybe a sort of almost gray kind of thing, so it's not perfectly bright. And then as for the borders here, all I'm going to do is right click and go to Format Cells, and we're going to go to the border and simply use another kind of gray or off-white for the outline and for the inside lines, and hit OK. And the last thing I want to do as for the actual style of the sheet, I just want to get rid of the grid lines. So all we have to worry about seeing is the three boxes that we actually care about. Okay, the first box is pretty basic. You type in whatever you want. Oop. I forgot the font color for that also needs to be the same. So we're going to use that. Now as for the dates, let's go ahead and work on the user form. So we're going to go into VBA, so that's Alt F11, and let me scooch my VBA editor over here. Alright, perfect. So we have the Visual Basic Editor with Alt F11. Now I should mention that when we're messing with user forms, unfortunately, at this moment in time, on a Mac, if you have Excel for a Mac, you can't do a lot with user forms other than run it, whatever has been designed on a Windows computer. You can run it, it should work okay, but you can't really do anything in design mode. I don't know why they still haven't developed that, but we're still hoping that they're going to. Anyway, I'm in the developer, so I'm going to click on this drop down and go to user form. So now we have this nice user form. The next thing we need to do is add our calendar control. Now, where's that at, Dan? Well, you're going to right click on the controls and go to additional controls. So it's anywhere on your toolbox and go to additional controls. Now we're going to go to the M section. So I'm going to type the letter M, go down to Microsoft, and we're going to look specifically for the Microsoft month. So Microsoft month view control. Now I already have mine checked, but if yours is like this, just simply check it or double click on the blue area here and hit OK, and then you'll have this this month view control right here. So click on there and simply click. Now this one has a default size. It's just kind of sized like that. Sorry guys, this is just the size. But what we're going to do is we're going to take off this title bar, and then we're going to make sure that we automatically make this entire form kind of shrunk like this, at least at runtime. When it runs, it'll know that the width and the height should be like this. So it's going to actually look really good. But let's set up the actual control so that whenever they click on a date, it'll go into the active cell. That's actually really easy to do. So while I'm in my user form, I'm simply going to double click on the control itself, and the month view one underscore date click. Well, the date click event is actually exactly what I wanted. When I click on a date, I want to run an event. I want something to happen. So I'm going to say the active cell dot value needs to be equal to whatever this month view value is, whatever the date is. So I'm going to say the month view one dot value. So we're going to put that the active cell is going to be equal to whatever the value of the date that they just picked. And that's really it. If you don't really care what it looks like, then that is going to do a lot right there. So let's go ahead and try it. I'm going to click on this cell here. Now this doesn't have it to where it automatically pops up yet. That's the next step. Okay. But for right now, we can actually test out this form by simply clicking on it. And we do have a nice looking form. It's just not exactly the way we want it to be in the final run. So let's say we wanted July 15th. So if I click here, you see that event did occur, right? I can't click anywhere outside of the form. I have to shut the form down manually. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have the form shut down automatically whenever a date is selected. That's just a preference, but that's just something we're going to do in this particular video. I'm going to show you how to do it. So we're going to say unload me. That means to unload me. Me is the object in the current container, meaning user form 1. So unload user form 1 is what that represents, okay? And the unload is the command to kill or shut down that user form. So as soon as we select a date, basically, it's going to kill the user form. So let's try July 8. Okay, it did. As you can see, it put that in there and took us back into design mode, but the form did essentially shut down. So that's good. All right, let's just do a little bit of cleanup here. We can look at the, if I click on the month view control itself, we're going to go ahead and change the left and the top. Okay, we want to make sure those are 0 or about -1 or so. So here's the top. It's a 1.5. Let's change that to 0 and hit enter. Okay, good. That's scrunched up to the top. Let's go back to the left. So the left is 0.75. Let's do like 0. Hit enter. Okay, and let's see what it looks like. All right, we might even go -0.5 or -1, but anyway, for now, that's good. Now, I happen to have it written down what the width and the height should be, at least when the user form starts. I could set it right now, or I could, leave it like this and just say whenever the form initializes. In fact, I'll double click on the background of the form and take it to the initialize event. All right, I'm going to get rid of the click event, but the initialize event is really cool because you can do stuff as soon as the form loads. You can make sure that something is some particular way. Now on my computer, I'm going to say me dot width is going to be equal to 133. I wrote this down. Me dot height is going to be equal to 123. And so that occurs, and that basically takes me, meaning user form 1. The width is going to be this, and the height is going to be this, which means it's going to scrunch it to where the calendar is the only thing that fits on. Now, that is actually what I wrote down after I took away the title bar. So as you can see, it's almost a perfect square. And so once this title bar is gone, this actually is going to scooch up here, and this is going to perfectly fit the entire control into that window. So let's learn how we can do the next part, which is to get rid of that pesky title bar. Now there's no default way to do that. What I mean by that is there's no way built into Excel to do that, but there is a way using something called WinAPI or Windows API functions. Those are the things where you can tap into Microsoft Windows and some of the really cool things they have embedded into their DLL files, shared features that all applications in Windows can use so that they don't have to rewrite the same code a bajillion freaking times. So what we're going to do is we're going to tap into that. Now, I got some of this code from Chip Pearson's website. Chip, rest his soul. He is an awesome guy, a great mentor, and a wonderful guy. And so you ought to check out his website, cpearson.com. I'm going to go ahead and take some code that I actually just edited straight from the code in his forms mod, and I'm going to create a new module myself, and we're just going to call this something like module forms or form controls, however you want to label that. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the stuff right here. Now, this video does have a free download, so if you want to download the workbook and try all this stuff out on your own, please, I would encourage you to do so. Otherwise, if you want to do it all the research and everything, you can head over to cpearson.com and try to find all the code yourself. But I'm going to go ahead and provide that for you, the modified code right here, and we're going to go ahead and rather than type all the stuff all over again, I'm going to paste it in. The main thing is we're going to use this function that Chip wrote called show title bar. Okay, that makes it way easier to just basically get the HWND, which is the handle, which is the form window handle for the user form, the current one. And once you have that handle, it basically does some fancy API stuff and removes the title bar. So let's try this in our form here. Now that I have this new function, all I have to do in the initialize event is kind of call forth that. So show, I'm going to hit control space bar because I don't remember what it's called. Show title bar. There we go, space bar. So the user form as an actual object. So not the string, not the name of a user form, but actual user form object. So I could say user form 1, or I could say me in this case because I'm already in that container. So I can cheat and say me. Now when I hit a comma, it says you want to hide the title. That's Boolean. That means it's true or false. So do I want to hide the title? Yes, I do. So I'm going to say true, not false. If I wanted to bring it back, I could do show title bar me and simply say false to hiding it, and that would actually bring it right back. So it does the same thing. So without actually going through all that code, let's just show you how it works. I'm going to hit the play button, and now the title bar is gone, and all that lost space that the title bar took up is now being utilized by this control. So now we're really getting somewhere. We have this nice date control, and we can select a month like this, and I can click on April 18th, and bam, it has plugged it in to that April 18th of 2018. All right, so that's really good stuff. We could do a little bit of design stuff. Obviously, I'll have you do your own designing, but you can see that by changing the back color or the fore color for some of these different items, that it will update the object itself. So, for example, the title back color, that's a big one. So if you change the title back color, let's use something like this purple. It updates the title bar back color. You can do the title fore color that's here. And this is also purple here. That's the selected date. Okay, so you can do all the designing that you want there, but here's what it's going to look like ultimately. All right, the last thing that we want to do, and this is going to be make it a little bit lengthy of a video. So if you just want to go ahead and download and play with it, you certainly can. But another really cool thing that we found from and thank you so much. Let's see, to Nerve, Jay Garth, and Yin Cognito. They wrote some really cool stuff here, and you can click on the link below to see their Stack Overflow question. But this is basically a way to convert the user form left and the user form top is much different than that of a worksheet. What I mean by that is, let's say this right here was, let's say it was 100 pixels from here to here was 100 pixels, but on a user form that might be 533 or something. There's some different thing in the way that the user form pixels are defined and the way that an actual Windows screen, a modern Excel screen is. So they have created a really cool set of functions, and that's also going to be available. So I just named this module mod pixels. And we're going to go ahead and paste that from my notepad as well, so as to not waste any time here. So I'm going to make this one called mod pixels. Now, of course, you can combine all these into one giant module. You don't have to separate them. But here's the mod pixels. It basically does a lot of really cool stuff to take the coordinates and convert them into inches and all this. The one thing that I basically changed is that I wanted it to, let's see if I can find it. I wanted to take not the actual cell so that the user form isn't right here, but I wanted it to go over one and take that cell so that the user form should appear to the right. So I offset it by one column to the right. That's where I want the user form to appear, so I can still see what it's in this cell, and the user form with the date picker is going to be right here. Okay, so that's what we're going to work on now. We've already got the coordinates, all this good stuff in here. The only thing we have to really do is we need to edit the event in the user form. Excuse me, the event on the page here. So I'm going to click on sheet 1. So here's where you get the code for sheet 1. You can also right click on the tab here and go to view code. Okay, same deal. Here's the sheet 1 container, and here's where we're going to do some code there. So we're going to go ahead and select an event. This is a worksheet event, and I want the selection change because every time I click somewhere else, that's a selection change event. It'll trigger this, and it'll acknowledge the word target means the current cell. That's the target cell that has just been clicked, which triggered this event. So the first thing I want to do right now, the cell that I want to target is called C5. So there's a couple different ways you could go about this. You can do an if not intersect function. To keep it simple, I'll just say if the target dot address, and I'm going to do 0, 0 as my parameters. You don't have to use parameters, but you would have to include the $signs otherwise. So if the target dot address equals C5, and I do need to use capital C5 because that's what the target dot address is going to be equal to. So if the target dot address is equal to C5, then, and here's where I can put in my code. I want the form, in fact, I need to give this form a cool name. So let's go to end if, and let's give this a name really quick here. Now in my notes here, I named this FRM, or you could put UF if you like that for your prefix. FRM date pick or date picker. Okay, it doesn't matter as long as you refer to it as the same name. So if the target dot address, the target that is being selected whenever I click away from another cell, is equal to C5, then I want to open that workbook. So FRM date picker dot show. All right, or you might do dot with the word false if you wanted it to be to where they can still click on other cells. Even if the user form's open, you can open it non-modally like this. All right, so you could choose to do it either way. But basically, that's going to go ahead and open it as soon as we get there. In fact, I can prove to you if I click here, is the target dot address equal to C5? No, it's C4. So if I hit F8, it'll skip over it. But if I click here on the date, then it's going to say, yes, that is equal to C5. And now it'll say, well, let's go ahead and show that a date picker form. So we open it up, and it just so happens it's opening kind of nicely in the center, but just not exactly where I want it. So we're going to go ahead and update where we want it to show up. Let's click on a random date here so we can close that down. And we're going to go back, so Alt F11, we're going to go back to our user form here. And we're going to just double click anywhere. In the initialize event, there's some more stuff that we have to do in order to get these point coordinates. So this is more stuff to do with those point coordinates in order to convert whatever kind of pixels they're using on the form versus the Excel main worksheet pixels. So we're going to go ahead and and I'm going to go ahead and paste this stuff here. There's just a lot of stuff that you wouldn't want to have to retype here. What it's doing is when it says with me, that means in reference to the current user form that we're talking about, FRM date picker now. So in regards to FRM date picker, we're going to get the horizontal offset points. So that's basically just taking the width of the actual form minus the inside width dimensions and then dividing it by 2. And we're taking, here's where I took the active cell. Instead of taking the active cell, I'm taking the active cell dot offset and 1 column to the right and no rows up or down, 0 there. So I want to get the point coordinates for that exact area. So that would mean I want to get the coordinates for this cell where project end is. That's what I want to get. And then we can take those coordinates and make the top of the user form. So the top of the user form is equal to the point coordinates top minus the vertical offset points, and then same thing with the left. What that will do, as you'll see, so I'm going to click away, and that doesn't do anything. And as soon as I click on the date, it actually takes this cell in D5, gets the coordinates, puts the user form right there with the top here and the left here, which is exactly offset 1 column over, which is perfect. So then that's exactly what I wanted. Now I want to do the same thing for the project end date. I don't want to do it for the name field. So that's where I put Dan, that's fine. I want it there. And now we also want to do the same thing for E5. So all we have to do is we need to go back to sheet 1. where I said, hey, if the target address is C5, then show the date picker. But I'm going to put a simple or statement. I'm going to say or, and then I pasted that. Or if the target address equals, how about E5, okay? And I need a capital E there. And then it should just work. So that's working. The only other thing I would say is you might want to make it to where whenever they click somewhere else that it automatically closes. If you want to do that, here's another feature if you want to keep watching. This is just more stuff basically playing around with it. But if you want to stick around, what I might do is I might put an event inside the form. So we'll call this a sub close form, something like that. And all it would be is unload me, or even me.hide if you just wanted it to be hidden whenever they click away. And so what I would do is with the event where they clicked somewhere, we wanted to acknowledge, hey, did they click on C5 or did they click on E5? Sure, then do something. But we could say else, meaning in all other circumstances, we might want to go ahead and take the form date picker dot and then the close form event that we just created, the close form sub that we just created. So the only thing with that is it would open up the form in order to create this object, just so that it would close it if it wasn't already open. So take that with a grain of salt. So we're going to go here, click on a date. I'm going to go here and click on a date. But if I go back here and I say I just want to click on a different cell and I want to make sure that the form does close now, we can prove that by clicking away. And it ran the form close event that we just created. So now, as we can see, if we click on another cell that went to the is true, basically it does have the date picker. It doesn't actually close the other one. It just makes sure that it's still open. So if you wanted to correct that, you could do that as well. You could do something like make sure that we close the last form before we show the current form, and then that should do it. So close the last form, reopen it on this cell. Close the last form, reopen. And the cool thing about this date picker, there's so many things that are cool about this date picker, but if I had, let's say I had manually entered in a date from a long time ago, so 8/13 of 1980, let's for example, if I click on here, right now it only wants to do July 2020, right? But another thing we could do is whenever we select a cell that is valid, we might want to say if there's already a date in there, go ahead and plug in the value into the month, into the date picker. And that way it'll already be staged and ready in the 80s, in 1980. So let's go ahead and try that. And then I promise I'm done playing with this really, really cool control. And you can go ahead and play with it. Go ahead and download the link there on your video. What we're going to do is if it is actually that right there, I'm going to say if the target.value is not empty, then, and you could do more validation in this. You could say, is it a date? All these kinds of things. I'm just going to say if it's not empty, then we're going to attempt to take the FRM date picker dot monthView1 dot value, and we're going to take the value from the target. So target dot value. Remember, target means the current cell. So I'm going to say if I click right here, it's going to take the target value, meaning 8/13 of 1980, and throw it into the date picker, the month view control. So if I click here, now we're in August of 1980, and if I click here, now we're in July 2020. All right. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to download, like I said, click on the link in the video description below, and if you want to learn more about how to automate your life and do a lot of really cool stuff in Excel using VBA, click on some of the links below and check out some of the promo videos for some of our courses. And we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and God bless.